Today's matchup. Jin-Air Green Wings. Rocks Tigers. 2016 Coca-Cola Zero League of Legends Champions Korea Summer, Round 1.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another day of LCK Summer Split. I'm Achilles. With me tonight is Monte Cristo, and we are bringing you a bit of a question mark of a match. It's Jin-Air Green Wings versus Rocks Tigers, and really, we don't know where either of these teams are. Jin-Air beating SK Telecom, then losing to MVP. They've had a bit of a back and forth. Rocks, on the other hand, has looked better, but they've recently played Longzhu and CJ, so we really don't know.
And I think the most interesting thing that's going to result from this match is we are going to break the glut of 5-2 teams. And one of these teams is going to be in first place in this league when this match ends tonight.
That's very true.
That is a bit of a surprise. If you had asked me at the start of this week if this was going to decide our first place team, I would have said you were crazy and that MVP would not beat SK Telecom. But given what happened yesterday, that is the reality we currently live in. So
yeah, we have had a bit of a whirlwind of the last couple days there. MVP taking down Jin-Air, and then, of course, SK Telecom losing 2-0 to Afrika Free.
Oh, Afrika, yes, excuse me.
That was
Yeah.
I don't even, Faker didn't even have kill participation.
Yeah, I mean, you take a look at Faker's last few games, and he's like 1-10-1. He just hasn't really been a force in these particular matchups, and they looked very much outclassed. I mean, Ixus Hecarim was doing work yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And proved to be a very potent pick. So that leaves us the following standings. Obviously, SK Telecom still at +7, so they've won the vast majority of their games, but those slip-ups coming against Afrika and Jin-Air, tough losses.
Yeah, absolutely. If we get a 2-0 from Jin-Air, they'll tie KT Rolster on match score. But everything is just going all over the place right now. The only consistency that we have is CJ Entus is 10th place with -11. That is not the thing that you really want to be consistent at. CJ, of course, displaying their sub-80 carry and Ghost in both of their games yesterday.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Didn't do so hot, but
I think you got to try something right now.
Oh,
if you're
for
CJ. You got to just figure out something that's going to get you potentially through those relegation matches at the end of the season. But tonight, it is a top-of-the-table battle, so something far more exciting.
Absolutely. And we'll have to see what's going to happen here, because Trace, when we saw Jin-Air play against MVP, not the greatest performance. The draft in general going into Game 2 for Jin-Air Green Wings had a lot of question marks around it, not banning or taking the Shen. That was pretty much the catalyst for success for MVP with ADD's play.
Which was weird because Trace was actually one of the first players to play New Shen when he won versus Afrika with it. He has picked it once this season. Instead, we got to see his first competitive game ever on Aurelia. That was no good.
It reflected.
It did look like his first competitive game on Aurelia. And also going back to the Echo, which we really haven't seen success with in the top lane ever since that suite of nerfs came through.
Yeah, definitely just a weird moment there for Jin-Air Green Wings. And see if they turn that around tonight and make better decisions in the pick and ban, which we'll be getting into in just a little bit, but not going to be seeing Cry starting. Or rather, we're not going to be seeing Blank starting, but we're not going to be seeing Cry starting either on the other side for Rocks Tigers. Will be the more consistent set of players that they have coming out tonight.
Well, I don't know. I think Cry and Kuro have both been having a good season. I think Kuzan has been definitely looking better than Blanc has on the side of Jin-Air.
I meant consistency and how often they play.
Sure.
But there we go. It is Rocks Tigers. Smeb up top. See what else he can offer us now on 6.11, because his counterpart Someday has been having a field day with this patch so far, especially on that Aurelia.
Yeah, I would be loving to see some more Smeb plays tonight. Interestingly, Smeb has been really hitting the Rumble hard. It's actually his most played champion this season now, and it's been quite good for the likes of the Rocks Tigers, but they haven't really been using a lot of the newer picks. Of course, we've seen the Aurelia banned against Smeb, but he hasn't actually picked it yet.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's been a few games of Swain with really rather lousy success.
Yeah.
And then the standards, Echo and Trundle. So we're really looking forward to Smeb starting to play some more of these Trinity Force carry style of top laners. But for now, you think Trace would be the other guy playing Rumble as well, given his season last year. But it's just been Smeb so far.
Yep. And, I mean, mentioning that Rumble is actually pretty crucial here, because if Trace brings out the Shen, decides to play it today, that could be a potential counter pick for him, force him into something early like the Spirit Visage or at least the Spectre's Cowl, and then your AD carry can actually do damage to that Shen when he arrives with that Stand United.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we were taking a look at those statistics right there for Jin Air, you can see that they've got Rocks and KT left, so a little bit harder end to the first round robin.
Yep. Especially with KT. We'll be able to judge the Rocks' performance after this set, but KDA's going to be pretty tight-knit. Smeb is going to inch out ahead of Trace a bit there, because Trace has been dying a good amount.
Well, also, he's the only one who's been dying on Jin Air, actually. Everybody else has very high KDAs. Jin Air has the lowest deaths in the league at only 106 in their games. Meanwhile, Rocks Tigers are very much up towards the top of that statistical category. It's been a kill a lot, die a lot season for the Rocks Tigers so far.
Yeah, especially Gorilla, who was for a long time the #1 deaths in the league. Now is second to last in that regard. I believe you said Haru has surpassed him after that game yesterday.
CJ fans may have thought that Bubble time left with Bubble, but actually now it's just Haru time, as he spends more time with a gray screen than anybody else here in Korea. Take a look at Pilot and Prey there. Two very different AD carries. Pilot, he gets a ton of gold, just a ridiculous amount of his team's resources, but his damage per minute very much lower than Prey's. Prey is number 4 in the entire league, Kuro number 5. So you can see the individual performances of the Tigers have been solid from the carry positions. It's just that when we take a look at some of their decision making, they've been a bit greedy, a bit risky, prone to over-aggression, where, if anything, Jin Air has been guilty of exactly the opposite, not being aggressive enough, playing too cautiously in the late game, and sometimes losing off of that one freak late game team fight.
Trace must be doing all the shot calling then, with how conservatively they've been playing. But here we go, pick and ban on your screen. Nidalee going to be the first thing taken away, and that's a prime pick for both of these junglers, and that's really going to be the match point. We saw Pilot and Prey. For me, it's going to be Winged versus Peanut, because Winged has been a shining light on the side of Jin Air in these games that they've won. He has absolutely gone off. The Thunderlord's Graves are a really big pickup for him. So going up against Peanut, who is always this very aggressive jungler, I'm excited to see this matchup.
Yeah, me too, and I'm glad you brought that up, because the stat lines for these two players in terms of KDA couldn't be any different. Winged, 22 kills, 17 deaths, 69 assists. Peanut, 48 kills, 36 deaths, 100 assists. So basically, Peanut's getting twice as many kills, almost twice as well, about a 50% more assists, but also dying twice as much as his counterpart, and that really is this matchup in a nutshell. As we see the bans go through, Shen actually banned by the Tigers, as well as the Trundle, and the
Sivir and Rise to follow, which leaves Vladimir for the first pickup on the side of Jin Air. Very quickly answered, though, by the Karma and Elise snatch up. So Sivir off the table, they still want that AoE move speed buff. So whether or not that's going to be for Koro or Gorilla, we'll find out in just a little bit.
Yeah, also important to take the Karma away when that first pick Vladimir comes through, because you don't want to buff up the speed of the Vladimir, help him get him into your backlines anymore. So the denial pick, obviously Karma is a first round worthy draft pick right now, but even more so when you're going to be going up against the Vlad. The Shen ban is interesting. Obviously, the Tigers are concerned that Trace is just going to start to play around that Shen. And if there was one team that I'd say really would want Shen, it is Jin Air, because they like playing with multiple globals. They like playing around a lot of late game minion wave manipulation and drawing teleports out, and it's a perfect champion to do that with.
I would have agreed with you until I saw that game against MVP, but look at this. We saw the attempted counter pick just the other day. Renekton coming out into the Aurelia. We saw this tried against, somebody tried this against Someday. Of all people to try to play Renekton against, you don't do it against Someday, but Smeb is going to bring it out, and we also get Praise Jhin.
Yeah, that's this is going to be the third Renekton I believe we've seen this season. We have yet to see a Renekton win.
Yeah,
but
it's the new Fiora.
It's the new Fiora. Well, Jhin actually will be able to help engage for the Renekton, so at least he's going to have more single target threat. ROX Tigers looking to create a pick composition here with the Elise, the Renekton, and the Jhin. Lots of single target stun, single target CC with the speed boost from the Karma. We saw KT play a pretty good Jhin composition, long range. Now they did build the Youmuu's Ghostblade into Duskblade of Drekthar on the Jhin in that game, and it looks like that might be a good pickup again.
Yep. Well, here we go. It's going to be Ashe coming out for Pilot. Playing this one into Prey. He knows that champion pretty well. It's going to be backed up by Che on the Braum, however. So good amount of protection.
Yeah, problem for Jhin is that their only form of primary engage is going to be the Ashe arrow, and if that misses, they've got a great composition for kiting, and at least they have the Aurelia into the relatively low mobility Jhin, but they may have some issues actually trying to get into the backline with Jin's range with Curtain Call. So this is a chance for the ROX Tigers to really create something that can kite outright here, and that is a very good answer.
Okay, yep. Well, have somebody jump on your Jhin, just pocket heal him till the end of time. It's going to be Soraka for Gorilla. And then that will leave Karma in the mid lane for Koro. So Karma versus Vladimir.
Now the Soraka against these sort of mid-range mages like Ryze or Vladimir, Soraka is extremely good at kiting. And that should be quite helpful when playing up against Kuzan's Vlad. They recognize that there really is a lack of engage here, and if they can just sustain out. Now the problem for the Tigers is pretty low damage here. In the late game, you're looking at what is probably going to be somewhat of a Glass Cannon Renekton build with what we saw earlier was a Tiamat into a Black Cleaver against KT in this particular matchup. So you're trying to really bully that Aurelia around. So this game's going to be about Peanut and what he can get done early in terms of side lane ganks. They're really going to need this Elise to do a lot of work because in the late game, the damage from Jhin is going to be way higher than the damage that the Tigers have to put out. Also on Prey to stay very, very safe and very alive. Of course, Gorilla on that Soraka will be helping with that mission, but he's going to be incredibly responsible for the majority of this team's damage should it actually come to team fighting. And he's going to have to kite very well against what Jhin is throwing at him.
Well, Peanut needing to be aggressive, I think that they can do that. I'm ready for the Proto Belt to come back out. I've been waiting. Every time I see it, it just gets me excited. So now with Peanut, the Pioneer, come back in with the Elise. We'll see if he picks it up. Jhin versus Tigers, game one. Let's get straight into it. All right, Ocean Drake to kick us off for today.
Indeed.
And both teams having pretty equal showings in the audience. Lots of fan signs out here for Prey. It says Prey Forever.
I don't know if I want to pray forever.
I'm saying, do they want to pray forever, or do they want Prey on ESC ever? I can't tell which they're trying to promote here. I think he's pretty comfortable on ROX. I don't know if he's gonna make any team swaps.
Yeah, everybody has.
It's not even the off season, guys.
No, it's not at all. No trading right now. Yeah, I can't read the bottom of it from this distance, unfortunately. It's probably an anniversary of his play, but I can't. I could read the creed if I could actually see it, but I can't see it.
Has he been playing for 4 years?
Yep, probably would be the answer to that question, considering that his first championship win was in the 2012-2013 winter season.
Well, I think we solved the mystery.
Mystery solved. Good job, Detective Achilleos.
We need to quit casting and just open up our own detective agency.
League
Be a
of
couple
Legends
PIs.
detectives.
We could
I'd
just-
be really good at that. You know, I love those old noir films.
Yeah, so we would just like dress up like we're in a noir movie and smoke cigars all day and
I am totally down with
not
that.
have any customers because no one speaks English here, so they won't know how to approach us.
I would totally be down. Totally be down for that. I have serious Humphrey Bogart fantasies.
Oh, Humphrey Bogart.
Also, Dames of Distress. Everything about film noir is just great. Love the Maltese Falcon.
Oh, yeah. I had to watch that in my film class, and I was just, man, I love this movie.
Love the Big Sleep. So good.
We had to do a, I forget what it's called, but basically you have to analyze every single cut, and you have to like write down every little detail about a scene, and we did one from the Maltese Falcon. And my notes were very in-depth. I got an A+ on that one.
Nice. Good job.
There we go. We can get the fan signs.
Yeah, it's his 4-year anniversary.
Okay, well, congratulations, Bright. Hopefully your anniversary is met with a win over Jin Air. No one wants to lose on their anniversary.
But at least the Rocks Tigers, they had a slow start to this season. Some interesting compositions against SKT caused kind of a blowout in that matchup with a very kind of a flat swing into the Ezreal Anivia that SKT sort of baited them into. They picked the exact same composition again.
We could just be having things just change back to sort of how they work, because last split it was Rocks came out swinging and SKT was very slow. Now is Rocks is very slow and SKT came out swinging and now they're losing. So maybe Rocks is just going to shift back into that first place spot and then lose to SK Telecom in the summer finals. And
Yep,
you know,
that's how it
everything
works.
will be as it was.
I've lost all hope for any other team winning this league at this point.
Well, we'll see how SK Telecom continues. In the meantime, though, just going to be that tower swap going on the top and bottom sides.
Indeed, nothing strange happening yet. Kuro getting the better of this matchup early on with that poke, and Kuzan still needing to get a few more levels in his Q, helping out with that heal, but looks like we are just going to see standard as standard could be. In fact, everything matched, although Gorilla is hanging back for quite some time, so they're going to know he's not going into lane right now. That's going to give Trace a little bit more time on this Aurelia.
Can pick up a couple extra CS and try to keep matched with Smeb, who at the moment is just very slight lead, but you mentioned him going Glass Cannon. Went straight for the Doran's Blade to start things off, so not looking for any defensive items such as a Doran Shield, which has been growing in popularity.
Yeah. Not anything too terribly aggressive yet bought, besides the Doran's Blade. See what he goes for in the back. And he's not going to be able to get into the lane that he wants to, presumably, against that Aurelia. So the lane swap should really be working here in Jin Air's favor, depending on whether they lose this first Drake or not. Kuro going to be teleporting right back to the mid lane.
Yep, just doesn't want to miss that. We'll pick up the CS, and it's going to be a little bit further behind, but going for that Chalice. Once he can get some MR in there, the extra that he'll get from the Athenes, it'll really help him sustain through that poke. It'll really help out his shields.
Yeah, one of the things that I really like about the Soraka pick here for the Tigers is that you have that Equinox, so you get the silence down onto the Vladimir, which is very important. And also, I guess if you get lucky, the Aurelia too. But for the same reasons that Soraka is a very strong pick against Ryze, we're going to see Gorilla be playing the Soraka as a very strong pick into the Vladimir. Nobody's really tried this yet, but the same logic should apply in that the sustain against the constant DPS should give you a lot of ability to survive, because it's less about burst with Vladimir and with the Ryze and more about just the sustained damage, which obviously Soraka is very good at dealing with. And then also the silence field so that they can't just continuously cast spells and make your life miserable. But depending on how Peanut builds this game, which given the composition, he's probably going to have to build somewhat aggressively, because otherwise they're not going to have a lot of damage in the late game, means that Gorilla's survival and his healing output is going to be quite important to how Rocks Tigers plays team fights.
Oh, here we go. Let's make it interesting. So we'll have those towers traded out. And then will be the first Dragon, the Ocean Drake, going over to the side of the Tigers. Infernal to follow. So we'll keep our eye on that one when we hit about 12.5 minutes. Meanwhile, Jin Air just going to answer with his Rift Herald. Looks like Trace might be picking up the buff for himself. That added little pushing power.
Yeah, it's going to give Smeb a little bit more time in the lane to farm, however, especially since Braum was with the Herald take right there. And it's just going to be a Renekton versus Ashe. So this should actually be a nice little advantage that Smeb will be able to get, at least in the lane.
Yeah.
Looks like he's building into Phage.
Could be
Yeah.
the Phage.
We'll see what he goes for here. It's intriguing. Again, it was the Tiamat into the Black Cleaver last time around. We saw this. But we're tracking this matchup because it is a pretty new one, and it seems to be a consensus counterpick among some of the teams in this league. But you have to get that 1v1 because Irelia is just so much more relevant than Renekton in the late game. You're basically just playing for a laning phase here and a dominant laning phase victory.
Yeah. Well, he's finally got it. Is pushed up towards that tier 2. Has decent coverage, though, through that jungle. You can see the Raptors and Red Camp have been warded by rocks. So he will be decently safe. How long he wants to stick around down here? That's a big question. Looks like it's not going to be for very long as he starts to recall.
Yeah, looks like it will be the Youmuu's first from Prey, too. I do think that probably the Youmuu's Duskblade build is going to be the best with this composition because of how far Prey is going to have to stand back. And it was very effective for Arrow when they were playing a pick comp with the Jhin.
Okay. Here, this is what I wasn't sure about. It. So it wasn't the Phage. He did build the Phage at first and has the items to actually get that for the Black Cleaver, but he will be going for a Titanic Hydra, it looks like.
Yeah, interesting. Curious that he wouldn't actually start with the Tiamat first. I guess that says that he probably wants to manipulate the wave a little bit more right now and not auto push. So he's probably looking for some sort of item timing that he knows is going to be powerful against this Irelia and to deny as much CS as he can. So it may be a strategy to starve her out. Peanut,
really aggressive for him. He's
yeah,
going
but they've
in.
got so many people there.
He's able to get the red buff, though, and they can't jump on him.
Yeah.
So nicely played by Peanut.
Yeah, he was playing aggressively, but again, Rocks looking much more like they did in the spring season, which is they drop all the people down into that bottom side after putting the pressure in the top. So Peanut had a lot of backup.
Oh, here we go. This is going to be the curtain call coming out. Jay able to block out these bullets. So only going to land a couple, but this gives the rest of Rocks to get some precious damage in onto that tower. Wing going to throw collateral damage just to try to clear the wave, but still a bunch of minions, so they will get that chip damage in. So tier 1 going down to about half.
And this is how KT was playing the Jhin. Just go ahead, drop the curtain call every time you have that cooldown. As a zoning tool, you're going to deny a lot of CS as there was a large wave built up in the mid lane, and you're going to be able to just, as you said, chip it down slowly over time. And they had bought themselves time by pushing up both the side waves, so they do get a little bit of something for their efforts, and they can just continue this aggression.
Yep. Still going to be really close coming into this, so no real fights coming out outside of that little scuffle in the mid. Pilot's fishing around, might be trying to find some target for this arrow, but no one nearby.
There's a lot of options here for what the Rocks Tigers can do. They have multiple routes from Jhin and from Soraka and from Karma, so the chain CC is going to be quite strong if they ever catch somebody out. And they can do it from quite a distance as well. Jhin Air just going to make the opposite push as they get the side wave pressure going. However, Mantra Q pretty good at clearing out those minion waves.
Yeah, and that's going to give enough time for Peanut to arrive nearby. Don't really want to dive. Well, Gorilla doesn't have the ultimate yet, so I guess we wouldn't be able to rely on that wish to keep Koro alive, but still diving with a Soraka nearby. Not necessarily the greatest idea. You're going to go wide. Looks like they're just going to clear out this minion wave, and turrets are going to be pretty equal on HP.
Yeah, they're looking for a tier 2 right now. Just pretty smooth rotation here from Jhin Air. Going to force Smeb to go in, make a trade with the Ruthless Predator, and try and get some of the AoE down onto the minion wave. So no real shots here going over for Jhin Air. They do have to be careful, though. Remember that Rox is running a double TP composition. Meanwhile, only a single teleport on the side of Jhin Air. So a collapse could happen, but not going to pull the trigger right down. Instead, Wing just doing a great job of bouncing between the lanes and getting the chip damage down on the turrets.
Yep. That whole time, though, we had Pilot just roaming back and forth, trying to get damage in onto the turrets. They couldn't get onto the tier 2, and that allowed for Prey to just sit up top and farm. He completes the Youmuu's and has a 15 CS lead. So Youmuu's Ghostblade going up against a BF sword, longsword Call Ash.
And this is the point where the Tigers have actually been setting up a freeze here in the top side. So that's how we saw Prey get that CS advantage. And they just donate a rather large wave to Smeb right now.
Yeah.
Does clear it out pretty quickly, so they're not interested in just holding it there and trying to make a play onto Trace. Instead, after all that chip damage come in, they do have to be worried a little bit about that mid lane tier 1 turret. So they are just going to push out once again so that Jin Air can't just group his 5 in the mid lane for free. And they also want to be making a play on this Drake, one would think.
Almost certainly. We can see the wards already coming down from both sides. Rock's going to have the heads up on the river wards. Still one in the back of the pit there for Jin Air. So if this gets started up or even swept out, they'll spot it. Looks like Peanut wants to give that blue buff over to Kuro first. More Mantra for the potentially inevitable team fight.
Yeah, lots of pink wards. Saw a pretty nice shot there from the Rocks Tigers. 3 pink wards go down, and they just get the control right now. They don't have enough real pressure on the map right now to start this Drake very safely. May go for it, but they have to be worried about this bottom side, and a push in the bottom lane would be a typical way you would start to get control here and really safely do this Drake.
Their pink doesn't have vision of that ward in the back of the pit, so might think that it's clear at the moment. Not sure if they saw that one go down while they were walking past.
And I see Trace playing very respectfully around this Renekton right now.
So both these top laners have a way to stop one another. The Equilibrium strike, the W there from Smeb. Go ahead, start this Drake up. It's already down to half HP. TP's not yet been burned. Smeb waiting in the brush, trying to see if he needs to come in on it. Will come through straight onto that big board Gorilla, taking a ton of damage. Is able to get out of there with a flash. Meanwhile, Che gets chunked out. Kuzan goes in a little bit too deep. Has to use the Sanguine Pool to get himself the safety. And that's going to be the current call from Prey. Just getting some shots in onto Trace. Not really whittling anybody down far enough. The Dragon's going to reset. Smeb goes back in to start this one up. Jin Air is still hovering in from that bottom side, 4 members, and then Kuzan split up top. Could just be an attempted smite war by Wings. Peanut's really low in the pit. They jump straight on a Wing. They blow him up. Nice first kill there for Prey. Smeb up in the front line is going to get stunned by that Equilibrium strike. Trying to get a chase on into Kuzan or Che, who are both chunked out. The tether comes through, flash away from the Vladimir. Will keep him safe with the speed up. Shield comes through from Smeb. Gets on the Trace, a flash forward straight into the
Nice
Hunter Q, into the
prediction.
W. Nicely played by Rocks Tigers. They find themselves a second kill, and an Infernal Drake should follow very soon.
That was a great prediction on the Q there from Kuro of the flash of Trace. And they follow it up immediately, and that is the right way to fight that if you're the Rocks Tigers. Remember, they are a pick composition at its core. They're looking, oops, Peanut couldn't actually repel over. Got pulled out a little bit too far. But that chain CC is what they're looking for. Being able to consistently hit the roots and the cocoons in this composition is clutch. So turning away from that Drake is the right call. They want to go for this. Remember, they have the speed from the Karma also. So they see Pilot moving up, Wing in the front line right now, and he is just going to get absolutely wrecked. I mean, flash right on top of him, great turn, straight into the Ruthless Predator stun, and then here's the pursuit. So they're going to follow through the brush, get us a little bit more speed onto this Karma. Root, it has to be flashed by Kuzan, unless that tether completes, and then this is just a great prediction right here. And they're going to land, of course, the Jin root right after because of the damage from Karma, allowing him to be caught out. And that is just a very nice play from the Rocks Tigers. And
Yeah.
I think the main difference that we've seen this game, if we look at the statistics from the Rocks Tigers and from Jin Air this season, Rocks has been great at getting gold leads. They actually, behind SKT, have the second highest gold lead of about average 715 minutes. And they also, 71% of the time in their games, are the first to take 3 turrets, right? So they've been playing around, getting kills, getting turrets, but not getting Drake. They only get 48% of the dragons in their games. Meanwhile, Jin Air kind of the opposite, 57% dragon control, but much lower priority on getting those first 3 turrets down. As we see another Infernal Drake.
Well, they're going to have to up that priority if they want to net those. Maybe there's just been all Cloud Drakes in Tigers games, and that's why they're not getting them.
No, I think the real issue for the Tigers is that they were playing the game like it was the spring season, if that makes sense. So see the turrets go down. In fact, in this game is going to be reversed, in fact.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, we're going to have a TP coming through from Kuro. Yes, Meb's on the other side. Turret's not low enough to really dive in. So they will just back off of that. So TP down here for Kuro.
Maybe a little bit optimistic considering the turret had already died. Nope, that was a bit optimistic too. So, as I was saying, one thing that I think has been shifting for the ROX Tigers is that what did they used to do last season? When Dragon wasn't really important, they used to dive early and often, pick up the kills, and snowball out of a very aggressive early game. Of course, with Peanut and the enemy jungler, in the enemy jungler's phase, they were very quick at collapsing with double TP. That was sort of their signature playstyle. But that has betrayed them, I think, this season, where their turret priority remains, but with such a poor Dragon control, they haven't been able to really capitalize on the power of the Elemental Drake. But their early skirmishing skills remain, as we saw in that last little team fight. So they just need to transition their focus of play away from the turrets and towards that Dragon Pit. And I think they can use many of the same skills that they've honed with this early aggression, but do it in a more productive way, considering the change in objective priority.
Well, so far so good. These guys already having 2 dragons in their pocket. Third one could very well follow. Jin Air are in a good position, however. They answered that mid-tier 1 tower. Gives them a little bit of an advantage and ties up the gold. So if it comes down to a fight around Dragon, they will be well enough equipped to fight it out.
Yeah, I guess I would be worried if I was Jin Air, just because the Karma and the Jin are going to be really strong right now. And you still need more time for this Vladimir to really come online, for the Graves to really come online. Until you hit that late game, the amount of crowd control and movement on the ROX Tigers is going to trump Jin Air's ability to really teamfight. And again, they are really reliant on Pilot's arrows. And if one of those misses, there's not a great way for them to even engage upon the Tigers.
Well, just going to be farming up, taking things a little bit slowly now, as we still have 2 minutes before that Dragon comes up. You can see the Triforce has been completed for Trace. Black Cleaver, first item for Smeb, so we'll be moving towards that Tiamat now, one would assume.
Yeah, Kuro doesn't care about being up top here, about that TP, considering objectives really able to be taken, and not going to see a tier 2 turret taken in the near future, most likely. Prey, of course, reassigned to that mid lane, considering he has the lower amount of mobility.
Wow.
Yeah, well, he's got
just
Youmu's and another Dirk. That's what happens at this point in the game. That's one of the reasons why we've been seeing those increasing Jin picks from teams like Jin Air, even SK Telecom. Or KT, rather.
Yeah.
And SKT. I didn't mean Jin.
Well, he does a lot of damage, and another Infernal Drake will help him do even more. 16% sounds pretty good to me.
Sounds pretty good to Prey, too, I'm sure. Jin Air would like to avoid that fate. If they can get the next Drake, they may be able just to pull this into a late-game scenario where they have a much better ability to teamfight in terms of consistent damage.
Yeah. Well, look at that. Second item outside of tier 2 boots and the jungle completion. It's the Proto Belt.
It's back, baby.
I'm ready.
I love Peanut's Proto Belt engages. They are fantastic. We saw Ambition build it, but it wasn't second item. So I'm ready for this one.
I love Peanut's insert thing that has to do with League of Legends. And I probably care about it very much.
Do you love Peanut's wards? I don't love those, and I love wards.
I love his wards because he is the ward. That's all you need.
God.
Kuzan, wow, look at that chain CC. Didn't even have a chance to go into the Sanguine Bowl. Used Ghost too, so he's going to lose that. Kuzan goes down. That should be the turret falling in mid. What an opening for ROX. And that should be an Infernal Drake following up here for them.
And what do you even do? You have to flash the first CC, otherwise it just lasts forever. That's what we were talking about. Tigers just running this composition absolutely beautifully, but Kuzan walking up, getting a little bold, and Vladimir has to do that if he wants to wave clear. So Tigers easily able to get picks as they siege these objectives.
I think you start praying forever if you're Janair.
To pray forever.
Yep.
That's pray to pray, maybe.
They
If he
probably
makes
don't
a mistake.
have. They probably don't have that long. It won't take forever. Maybe like 15 more minutes at this rate. Rocks should be able to run away with it. I mean, they're still keeping pretty close as far as the gold goes. Trace has inched ahead a little bit in that top lane CS matchup, as has Winged. So that is keeping them within 1.2 thousand gold, but still, these Infernal Drakes are really gonna hurt the next time these guys clash.
Yeah, will be the Duskblade too for Prey.
Yep.
Going for that with the Dirk and the BF sword.
I love both of these builds.
I think this Jhin build is fantastic, but yes, Rocks Tigers playing for a big early game here, and they're getting it so far, but they don't have enough gold lead to be really out of the woods. However, the fact if they get 2 Infernal Drakes in a row, that is what is going to make or break this game for them. Jhin, they've got to do something on this next Drake attempt.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Go for the Hail Mary. The second item, Rabadon's Death Cap there for Kuro. Feeling pretty aggressive, wants to maximize that AP from the Infernal Drakes. So it says, why not?
it's a really low kill game for the Rocks Tigers.
Yeah, well, especially compared to the games that we saw just the other day with the KT.
That was a little skirmish. Smeb actually having a
Oh,
tough
yeah,
time.
that's
Does
gonna go
have
ahead.
to use his Dominus.
Yeah, gonna go ahead and use the teleport flash over the wall, though, from Trace. Smeb really winning out that exchange. Black Cleaver doing some work. And now they should be able to get a very strong push onto that tier 2 and bot. The rest of Jhin is roaming down, gonna try to answer, but that would also make the mid lane very susceptible to getting jumped on.
So Yomu's right there. It's been optimistic, I think, from Prey.
He's just been throwing it out there every now and then.
He's on a low cooldown. So
Yeah.
not that
Well, they get
impactful.
But a bit of damage in there. Glacial Fissure comes out. Smeb dashes out, jukes out the arrow. Nice flash from Kuro. We'll deny that. Meanwhile, Wing's getting jumped on the Protobelt. Not going to be able to confirm the kill. But Smeb goes for it, says, I got you, buddy. I'll take him out. Tether comes through. Kuzan flashes out of range. That's going to be the tier 2 going down to the bottom side. And Rocks are just really starting to stretch his lead. Nice! W stun onto Pilot. Not able to finalize the kill, however. He takes a bunch of damage. Has to use flash and heal. And this might actually be an inhibitor tower going down before 25 minutes.
Well, 2 Infernal Drakes early, Achilleos, with this kind of pick composition, and the damage is absolutely massive, particularly with the way they've
Oh,
itemized.
Smeb dashes forward, finds Shay, locks him up straight in the cocoon. He goes down. That's going to be the inhibitor following here. Wings coming up in 5 seconds, but I don't think he can do a damn thing with his respawn. That's going to be Rocks exiting out of the base. Nice pickups from these guys, and just the chain CC is on point for the Tigers right now.
Yeah, and they built all damage, so this was going to go one of 2 ways, Achilleos, either really well or really badly for them. But they've been able to get the picks and to play aggressively around this itemization to just bully out their opponents. Peanut is just going to get it wreck Winged right here, basically. Wing does get out, but not for long. Flash W by Smeb in order to actually take him down, and then just pursuing after the turret.
I think that Protobelt actually would have killed him if Pilot didn't heal right there.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Dang it, Pilot. I want to see somebody die with a Protobelt.
Protobelt execution.
Just the snipe, the fadeaway Protobelt.
Was a good Protobelt.
Yep. Oh, arrows coming out. They find Gorilla, but they can't close that distance in time, so it's like, all right.
Well, they also didn't have wards, so even though they hit him, they had no idea, for example, where that Renekton was, where the Karma is.
Yeah.
So walking in there may not be the very best idea if you are Jhin.
Wow.
You can see Peanut.
Oh, he's going to get rooted. Curtain call comes down. It's high noon. Trace going to take one to the face, but Peanut still finalizes the kill. Looks like he will be able to exit safely as Kuro roams up from the bottom. And, yeah, if you're Jhin, you just literally can't go anywhere that's not your base right now.
The execution is just wonderful here from the Tigers, and it's actually a Sterix Gauge.
Oh, wow.
An item we haven't seen
Okay.
since some of the changes, really, but
Screw it. I don't need it to have to push
he's going
fast.
to get twice as big with Dominus and Sterix Gauge, I guess. He's going for the giant Croc build.
Let me see the dead man's next. No, but it's tier 2 in mid. Gonna get taken down very quickly. Peanut just throwing out the Proto Belt, gets the catch onto Jay with a Cocoon. Gonna take a bit of damage there and be able to back off.
This composition had to work early for the Rocks Tigers, and they made it work. They fought around the Drakes. They got all 6 kills in this game. And they are looking much more like the Tigers that we saw last season.
Wow.
Trace desperately trying to clear out the super minions in the bottom lane.
Yep. Well, Rocks grouping up in the jungle, going to take away that blue buff. So Peanut and Kuro both have one. Looks like they might. Do they just even start this one? They have the super creeps pushing in the bottom. They already have an Nexus turret down. I think they can go ahead and start this.
There's a ward in there. This is actually dangerous considering the low tankiness of the Tigers members. They're going to have to turn on this instantly.
Well, Smeb's already going to get ready. Pops that Dominus, trying to close the gap, get in. That's going to be the curtain call coming up. Jay going to take the first couple ones. They stun him up. He flashes over the wall. Cocoon going to go wide. Kuzan's pinching up on the back side.
I love the way the
That's
Tigers
disengage.
have been playing around these objectives, Kilias. Just the way they played around that first Drake, instantly turning. Again here. Yes, they're very far ahead in this game, but they don't actually try and rush the Baron. They
Look at
know
this.
that they have to turn instantaneously, that their power is in their damage,
They're
their
just trying to buy
burst,
time.
and their CC. Yeah, just go for it.
There's super creeps on the last Nexus Tower right now. They find Wing and they just blow him up yet again. So that's going to confirm this Baron for them 100%. Meanwhile, Jin Air is losing the vestiges of their base that are still standing. So Baron going over to Rocks in 28 minutes, 7-0. Those 3 turrets, 2 of them from the lane swap, the only thing that Jin Air has been able to acquire.
Yeah, and this has been really a masterclass from the Tigers in early game aggression and objective control, because they have played this comp about as perfectly as you could want and forced the fights, done everything they could. Whoa, my voice.
Oh, you need some water, my friend.
That I do. Hold on.
Well, Monty's dying, but it's okay. Randuin's Omen completed here for Smeb, because why not? Now the Spirit Visage will finally come through for him. Rylai's for Peanut, just wants that extra tankiness. And Kuro is dealing all of the damage with the newly added Void Staff.
And guess what? More armor penetration for Prey. Bob Malmortius. He is just going to be cutting through the members of Jin Air right now. They don't have any armor to speak of. He's basically doing true damage at this point.
Yep. And now to make matters worse, Rocks have a second Ocean Drake, so they have infinite sustain, so they can just sit outside of your base, poke you down forever, and just whittle away at your remaining structures.
And Soraka's so amazing with the Ocean Drake too, because of course the cost of her healing the Astral Transfusion is her own max health. So if she's not actually participating in these fights, she can drop back and is really not punished for spending her own health to heal up her teammates.
Very true. I don't even know if Gorilla has cast Wish once, because he hasn't.
I haven't seen it.
He hasn't really needed it, so I think he's actually not done it. Gorilla going to get jumped on, takes a bunch of damage, but look at that shield coming out. They're going to find Pilot right off the bat. Kuzan trying to equalize something with a trade, but he's just not able to find it. Meanwhile, Trace goes down. A kill picked up here for Prey. Kuzan exiting through his own jungle. They try to get onto Wing. They will be able to lock him up. Look at the damage from the Renekton. They take him out. It's just going to be the Braum and Vladimir left to try to defend this base, but it's a hopeless task as the last Nexus turret goes down, and in 30.5 minutes, Rocks Tigers come swinging out the gate 10-0 over top of Jin Air. Might have to make that 11. We'll give it a sec. 11-1 over Jin Air Green Wings.
And this looks much more like the Rocks Tigers that we saw in the spring season.
Yes, it does.
Aggressive, confident in their ability to push early game advantages, playing well around objectives, not playing over aggressively. But man, their Drake and Baron control was nearly flawless in this game. Very well done by them. And against a top of the table team, remember the winner of this best of 3 will be first place in this league. So it's you're kind of playing for a lot, not all the marbles, not the end of the season, but certainly a lot of the marbles right now as we finish up our first round robin.
Really good stuff from Rocks Tigers. Big question is, can they keep it up going into the second game, or will Jin Air be able to find their bearings and try to fire back? We've seen these guys take down SK Telecom. We've also seen them lose to MVP. So it's just a big toss-up as far as whether or not they will be able to do that. We can see the damage done to Champions.
I mean, Jin just basically annihilated Aurelia in that last team fight. Trace really didn't have any armor to speak of to actually, he just had a chain vest at the end of that game.
Yeah. Rough stuff, but good damage coming out there from Koro and Prey. Really utilizing that Karma early on before she starts to kind of taper off later on in the match. So very well played by Rox Tigers, and Jin Air going to have to put their heads together because we've seen them falter in the big ban in game 2. We'll see how they do coming in this one.
I think they just need to focus more on wave clear. Last game, that was a problem with the Aurelia and the Vladimir, who had to walk in front of the turret and could get caught out.
Yeah.
So wave clear, maybe a little bit more mobility so that they don't just get instantly CC'd and exploded. Otherwise, why not just run this composition again if you're the Tigers?
Yeah. Maybe we'll see something like a Victor here for Kuzan. And we'll see if Sivir makes it through the pick and ban. She was banned away by Tigers in that last game. So both those picks could very much help them out, but we're going to go to a break.
Played a lot of you might win it. It's like 25 the lives that you bust out of prison. Something's in the air, something's in the air. It's like that feeling when you're just about to kill it. Take your last shot, you know you're gonna hit it. Something's in the air, something's in the air. Whoa. Something big, I feel it happening out of my control. Pushing, pulling, and it's grabbing me. Feel it in my bones like, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Something big, I feel it happening, oh, whoa. About to win the medal, and you worked so hard that you knew you wouldn't settle. Hands are in the air, hands are in the air.
자, 지난주 롤챔스 드디어 모두가 비벼지는 비빔밥 메타가 완성되었습니다. SKT를 지네어가 잡고, 지네어를 삼성이 잡고, 삼성을 롱주가 잡고, 롱주를 CJ가 잡고, CJ를 아프리카가 잡고, 아프리카를 에보가 잡고, 에보를 MVP가 잡고, MVP를 KT가 잡고, KT를 락스가 잡고, 락스를 SKT가 잡으면서 서로 물고 물리는 너와 나의 연결 고리. 괜찮아요? 이런 것도 나가야 돼, 위클래시K. 아니, 위클래시K 이런 것도 나가야 된다고요, 이런 거. 공개하라! 공개하라! 공개하라!
It ain't over yet.
지네어가 넥서스에 손 하나 까딱 안 대고 경기를 이겼습니다. 어떻게 그랬냐고요? 미니언 그린윙스 제6의 멤버 슈퍼미니언의 대활약, 보고도 당할 수밖에 없었던 아프리카의 절절한 사연 들어보시죠. 왜 안 나와요? 안타깝습니다. 이 선수들의 보이스를 저희가 들려드리고 싶은데 앞에 경기가 화요일이었어요. 수목금토 경기만 됐어도, 아니면 이 썸머 시즌만 아니었어도 저희가 이 아프리카 애절한 마음, 환희에 찬 기쁨의 진의 목소리 다 들려드릴 수 있었을 텐데 그날 주는 게 이런 점은 굉장히 아쉽습니다. 때는 지난 2015년 스프링 결승전, 타이거즈의 빗창에 이렐리아가 야심차게 올라옵니다. 하지만 이어지는 김동준 해설의 따끔한 비판과 극딜, 결국 타이거즈는 우승컵을 놓치게 되고 그 후 탑라인에서 이렐리아는 종적을 감췄습니다. 하지만 이렐 수가 이렐리가 없는데 11개월 만에 롤챔스에 다시 등장한 이렐리가 없는데 듀크도 하드캐리, 액페도 하드캐리, 무사히 LCK에 다시 상륙한 이렐리아. 게임이 이렐리가 있네? 감독 코치의 만류에도 열심히 준비 중이라는 스냅 선수도 얼른 1년 전에 이렐리아 흑역사를 정산하시길 바라겠습니다. 자, 지난주 최고의 이슈였습니다. 무실 세트 전승 가도를 달리던 SKT가 진해요 앞에 무너졌습니다. 페이커 선수의 무리한 앞전멸과 하드 스로잉과 함께 SKT 결국 첫 패배를 맛보았는데요. 하지만 SKT의 패배보다 더 무서웠던 건 경기 후 포착된 김정근 코치의 표정이었습니다. 와, 표정 보세요. 살벌합니다. 아마 진정한 SKT 딜량 1위는 분노한 꼬치가 아니었을까 싶은데요. 꼬치 딜량이 한 2030일 정도로 좀 떨어지길 바라겠습니다. 너무 무서워요, 꼬치. 예, 그런 모습 처음이야. 꼬치한테 연락해보셨어요, 혹시? 아니요. 그 분위기에서 연락해서 하기가 분위기 안 좋은데. 할까? 너무 크게. 정균아. 뭐 하고 있어?
그냥 있지, 신세하면서.
너 그때 왜 이렇게 화를 냈어?
지금 뭐 하고 있어?
아니야. 눈치는 더럽게 빠르네.
뭐 하고 있어?
왜 이렇게 화를 냈어?
뭐가?
그때 왜 이렇게 화를 냈어요?
아니야.
아니에요?
네.
그 화면만 그렇게 나온 거죠?
예, 화면만 그렇게 나오고.
말은 뭐, 괜찮아, 얘들아. 열심히 하면은 다음 경기 이길 수 있어. 이런 식으로 얘기한 거죠?
네? 뭐 하고 있으세요, 지금?
아직 위클리 LCK입니다.
아, 네. 정말 저 그 팬이에요. 정말 잘 보고 있어요.
감사합니다. 저도 SKT 팬입니다.
네, 그게
네네.
당군 캐스터님 아니면은 할 사람이 없는 것 같아요. 너무 잘 어울려요.
저도 SKT 코치는 김정균 코치밖에 할 사람이 없는 것 같습니다. 너무 잘 어울려요.
네, 감사합니다.
네. 어차피 뭐 몰락은 있어도 몰락이 아니구나. 부진은 있어도
아니시죠?
예, 부진은 있어도 몰락은 없잖아요.
그렇게 하려고 선수들도 다 노력 중이죠.
알겠습니다. 수고하세요, 그러면. 굉장히 가식적인 멘트들. 눈치가 빨라서 바로 방송인 거 아네요. 자, 이번 주 위클리 LCK는 여기까지입니다. 1라운드가 얼마 남지 않았어요. 대학생들 이제 여름방학을 시작했을 텐데 집에만 누워있지 말고 이 상암 경기장에서 롤챔스 함께 하시길 바라겠습니다. 그리고 이 중고딩 우리 급식 먹을 날이 얼마 안 남았거든요. 이제 어머니 밥 많이 먹어야 되지 않겠습니까? 7월에 방학하면 이곳에 많이 친구들 손잡고 놀러 오시길 바라면서 저는 여기서 인사드리도록 하겠습니다. 여러분 다음 주에 또 만나요.
Welcome back. Your MVP from game 1 is Prey, deathless on the Jhin, contributing to 91% of the kills. That's going to get him his second MVP of the split so far.
Oh boy, well, he had a great game.
Rocks
on the
had a great
Jhin.
game.
Yeah, they did. It was hard to pick an MVP here considering how much of a team effort it was, but some of those long-range routes truly were spectacular. You can see follow up there, just instantly causing Wing to explode.
Yeah, and this was just a big thing, like with Rocks, because I mean he did land those W's very well and consistently, but they also always had follow-up to that W, or he was following it with somebody else's CC. They were always just chaining them together back to back and just creating these picks, and in the end, almost had a deathless game.
Watch Trace up at the top of your screen. He gets exhausted, and then Prey, watch him re-enter right here after the Hemo blade, because Prey just blows him up, just straight up explodes him, because he has so much armor penetration at that point in time, especially when we consider the build he went, of course, the Youmu's into Duskblade, into Maw. So basically dealing true damage because Jhin Air never had enough money to actually pick up armor items.
They did not. They didn't have much money for really anything. Had a couple CS leads, but that's about all they had going on for them. No dragons, just the 3 turrets in the end of it, 2 of which were acquired off of that lane swap, a double lane swap, I should say. So Jhin Air, big question mark on their forehead as to what they're going to do coming into this second game pick and ban.
Yes, indeed, and we're going to get into it right away. I think Jhin Air maybe goes for some more safe wave clear this game. Part of the problem that they encountered is once the Jhin got to the mid lane and the Vladimir had to be the one clearing the wave, he needed to walk forward, and as we saw, Kuzan really struggled with staying alive in that scenario, getting caught out by so many of the roots or single target stuns that the Tigers composition used, and they're going to ban up the Elise.
All right, so double jungle ban here from the side of Jhin Air so far.
Yeah, they're taking out the early aggressive junglers and hoping probably that Wing can get on the Graves again and just farm it out this time.
Trundle here on the side of Rocks to go with that second Shen ban. They're going to take Sivir out, so still trying to deny that champion away from Pilot, which removes a potential source of that wave clear, like you've been saying, that Jhin Air should want to get going into this match.
Yeah, I think the Sivir ban is definitely smart, and they haven't moved at all when it comes to their bans. Just going Shen, Trundle, Sivir 2 games in a row now. And the Rek'Sai would be a fine early pickup. It's basically the last early game jungler available. Peanut has played Lee Sin this season once. But the Rek'Sai, certainly a bit higher priority. And at least you can, with some creative tunnels and of course flash on burrows, make some of these ganks work. And Jhin Air, Kuzan's been really great on the Vladimir this season. That last game accepted, but it wasn't really his fault as an individual what happened. Of course, the Drake RNG hugely in favor of the Tigers that last game.
Sure.
With such an early game focused composition, being able to fight around those 2 Infernals back to back was absolutely huge for them.
Well, it's actually going to be Gragas here for Jhin Air. Whether or not it's going to be top or jungle, we'll have to wait and see, but could be either, but...
Yeah, I like the introduction of a flex pick. And remember, last game, one of the big problems for Jhin Air was they only had the Ash Arrow for engage, and they're just going to solve that problem right away. Obviously, the synergy between Gragas ult and Vladimir ult's not the best, so you have to make sure that you know how to team fight properly with your teammates and communicate how exactly all of that is going to go down, but certainly does solve some of the issues that they were having regarding closing the gap between themselves and the Tigers, and that is bold to take the Jhin into the Gragas for sure.
Felt really safe from that last game.
Please don't play Azir, Kuro. Yeah, you see Prey looking at him and laughing. Definitely a troll hover right there. Of course, we know that Kuro, very weak Azir player.
Well, it will be Aurelia for Smeb. We saw in the weekly LCK video. Duncan hoping that Smeb has recovered since that last Aurelia performance that he had.
And this is what we wanted to see, Achilleos. This is what we can get excited about because this is Smeb's first Aurelia game this season. So exciting times.
Trace now with this hover over the Reddington, maybe thinking about trying his hand at that. Smeb very much ran away with that, but I don't know if Trace is much of a Reddington player in his history.
And we also got the first Renekton victory. I still think it's such a risky pick, and it does require some pretty tight execution on timing windows, which the Tigers were successful with, but we won't know really how much of that is the Tigers being the Tigers versus GP.
Gangplank coming in. Interesting. We haven't seen a GP in so long now. Really fell out of favor with the nerfs. Actually, that's not even true. Even after the nerfs to the number of barrels, we saw still a good amount of Gangplank, but since the summer split started up and going into playoffs, we haven't really seen him pretty much at all, so.
Yeah, interesting too, of course, he is one of those champions that was affected by the Trinity Force changes pretty substantially. You do trade, of course, the crit and the move speed that you were going to get with for the cooldown reduction now. Obviously, both stats are good on Gangplank, but does make his burst a little bit lower, but evens out, I think, the consistency of his damage.
We'll see how this one's going to perform at the Gangplank into Aurelia.
Yeah, I love this pick.
There we go.
So Nivea did receive nerfs on the latest patch.
Yeah, mana cost on the ultimate's up early.
Yeah, not very much, but they're going back to what we saw be done to them by SK Telecom when they tried to run Vladimir Swain. There was an Ezreal and a Nivea pick by SKT, and it proved highly effective. And in this game, wow, that Gangplank and that Vladimir are going to be kiteable to the max, and I think the Bard is a very good answer. So they're going to have more forms of engage. They're going to be trying to scale with the Vladimir and the GP, but the GP, of course, with the barrels is going to have better wave clear, and now they've got Gragas ult and the Bard ult for different forms of engage.
Well, they're still taking their time with it. It's likely to be locked in, but they could flip for something different. They did play Braum in the last game, but it will be Bard coming out, so very aggressive bot lane there, coupled with the Lucian.
Yeah, I like the fact that they're playing at least one early game lane in the Bard Lucian to balance out the scaling that they have in their solo lanes. Also, Winged will have some good gank presence on the map early. I think that's one of the reasons why you wanted to take the Gragas over the Graves, is that he at least has a bit more force in the early game when it comes to ganking and trying to set his lanes up for success. So Rox Tigers, though, this composition that they're running, they will be better set up for late game team fights than they were in game number one. Jin heavily banking on those late game team fights where they will still be very strong, and they've changed over from the Aurelia pick into the Gangplank, where again, with the barrels, you have a little bit better wave clear. You're not going to get caught out in the mid lane if you're Kuzan, probably, because there's no range stun from the Elise coming in, and you're also just not going to be tethered or slowed down by the Karma, so it should be easier for him to walk up to the wave. Of course, he's still going to take a lot of damage from the Anivia, but he's not likely just to be permanently CC'd and die. At least he'll be able to actually hit that Sanguine Pool and get out.
Well, we have an AP jungler in the Gragas, so I can only hope we have a Protobelt Gragas. Protobelt forward into Body Slam or vice versa.
That'd be great.
That'd be a really nice
I really
combo.
hope we see that.
They'd never see it coming. Take your tips from me, Winged. All right, though, let's get into Game 2 and see if the Tigers can close out with a 2-0 finish, or if Jin will take us to Game 3. All right, another Ocean Drake will start us off. Whether or not it's going to be an Infernal Following, we'll find out.
Maybe in for some standard lanes here, Rox.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you want to go for the swap if you're Rox? Because you have a Lucian Bard.
I think it's a hard call. For the duo lane, they probably do want to swap it up just to not deal with the Lucian Bard with the Soraka Jhin, but at the same time, you really don't want to allow this Gangplank to be free farming if you have an opportunity perhaps to get kills early because you have an Aurelia Rek'Sai. So there is some kill pressure onto the GP. I guess he can't cleanse out of the knockup, so
It begins.
미니언들이
yeah, should be
생성되었습니다.
a little bit tough for Kuzan in this matchup. Kuro was on the receiving end of this matchup versus Faker, and didn't look too good.
Well, it doesn't really look that good typically when Kuro is on the receiving end of a Faker matchup.
Faker matchup, that's true. It's true.
Usually goes very poorly.
Cry did better in this matchup. They did switch mid laners after game number 1.
Yeah. Well, Invasion's going to be coming through here from Pilot and Shay up to the top side. Gromp's already been smited by Peanut. They might be able to take this one
we
away.
got it.
Oh. Well,
Well, that is very annoying, and that is why you don't smite early when you're weak side jungling a Gromp in a lane swap. That is, they were trying to get the Gromp buff just to get some extra damage down, do the Gromp faster, but
Yeah.
if you have an early invade, and especially when Pilot was there too, but this is gonna be a nice response here because Trace was in the lane.
get some good damage down onto the Gangplank. He's going to be chugging away at that Corrupting Potion. Already uses the 2 charges. And now will join Winged a little bit late at the blue buff. But we'll have to see how that's going to affect Peanut. Not getting that gold from the Gromp. Pretty major. And also the flash being down. That's, no flash on Burrows for those early ganks. So going to be waiting a little while before he can really be effective.
Well, he probably wasn't going to gank before his flash is up anyway because it is a lane swap, and it's pretty much just going to be farming for the first 5 minutes of the game or so.
Very true.
So it's probably not going to have that big of an effect. He does double back right now and take out the Wolves. Ward from Jin Air onto the enemy blue buff, but it does just expire. And because Trace went to lane there to pick up a couple of CS, he's not actually going to get over any faster to the top turret, so the tempo advantage that could have been developed from Jin Air by making that play at the Gromp is sort of gone now, just because Trace had to walk all the way across the map. It's going to be just about even though the Lucian can, of course, chip away at this tower just a little bit faster than the Jin.
It's interesting. Winged not opting to go for the blue buff despite the team taking that turret on that side of the map. Could have actually only gotten 1 buff onto Peanut if he had gone over there, but opts to go for his own red.
It's probably good. So he'll probably get over there eventually. I wouldn't worry about it too much.
Let's see. Depends on how long they want to stick around. Wolf Spirit is in there for Rock, so they will spot him if he starts going for it. See him walking in now.
It's unfortunate for the Tigers as Winged is going to be seen by the Wolf Spirit because I think they'd love to give this first blue buff over to Kuro if possible.
Yeah.
That would be absolutely huge for this matchup and for Kuro's ability just to get that nice sustain right as he hits 6, but not going to be the case. Instead, it will be Winged sneaking in there after the Wolf Spirit expires and taking it away. So
triple buff there for the side of Jin Air. Nice start for these guys.
yeah, and Jin Air is actually, or Rox rather, is going to opt in to this matchup in the 2v2. They return their duo lane straight back into the bottom side, and Pilot did get the cull, so Prey here with an extra longsword in this matchup has 10 extra damage, and
Oh boy.
maybe he'll do something with it. Smeb is...
All right. We'll spot it.
Yeah, but Peanut's here, so...
Yep, gonna go ahead, use that Equilibrium Strike. Trace not really nearby, but it's even just damage coming up from the Gragas is gonna be pretty significant, so he takes some hits. We'll have that sustain on the hit and style, but has to get through the poke that'll be coming out from that GP. Nice tray there for Kuro. Really using that Anivia, but falling behind in CS, down 13.
Yeah, there is a big wave coming over to actually equalize, though. But it is a little bit concerning that Trace did get a couple of levels, at least for the moment, out. And Smeb has been on the periphery because a little bit of nice zoning there from Wing to set it up. He should get 10 to 15 minions. Looks like off of this wave, though, it's been pushing forward for quite some time.
See how much he can equal out. Has that double dagger, so can really work through those minions and get as much trade damage as humanly possible onto Trace with the hidden style when he rocks it. Gromp coming top yet again here from Winged. Might be looking for a gang.
Well, they really would love to prevent Smeb from getting this minion wave if possible, but no wards in there. They all have expired right now. Massive wave built up for Smeb to take, but he is 25 down, and there are not 25 CS in that wave. They're about 15, it looks like.
Yeah.
So he's still going to be a little bit hungry unless they actually get a kill onto Trace, who's setting up these barrels quite nicely down
Peanut's
the lane.
nearby. That's going to be the slow coming out from the Equilibrium Strike. Peanut walking in will get slowed up by that barrel. Flash away from Trace. Flash on Burrow, though, from Peanut. Trace is going to go down. First blood going over to Smeb. Nicely played.
Yeah, how much are they going to lose from this? Okay, looks like not much, as the cannon minion was there to get focused by the turret. And a nice play. Trace still has an advantage. I actually love the way Trace set up his barrels in that lane. You could tell that he had a plan if that gank was coming. They weren't chained together, but he could run between them or add an extra barrel to get that link down, and very nearly survived that, actually. Forced a summoner out of Peanut in accordance, or in trade for his own flash, and Trace is going to be going for the Trinity Force now, so this is the first time we're going to get a peek in the professional scene here in Korea at a new Trinity Force Gangplank.
Might be. I don't even know if he's been picked anywhere right now.
I
haven't heard about
I do
it.
not know, but I'm not sure, but I haven't seen it myself
Could be our first Triforce GP in the world.
at the professional level.
At the well, yes, at the
Sure,
professional
it's been
level, of
played
course.
thousands and thousands of times already. But
Yes. That is very true. But we'll see how that one's going to turn out. Just has the long sword on top of the Sheen for the time being. Smeb has been able to get back a good amount of CS, now just down by about 7. So keeping it close, and he'll have a nice buy on that next back, what with the bonus that he got from First Blood. So should be able to finish off the Stinger and maybe come in with a Sheen. We'll see if he wants to go for that, be very aggressive, or go the more defensive route with a Phage.
yeah, certainly having an easy time trading now. As he has caught up when it comes to levels. Still, though, the CS difference made up for by the kill. So they really had to get that, otherwise Smeb was in deep trouble.
Yeah, Jay makes a bit there. We'll take a magical journey to safety, however. We can see Winged is waiting over the wall. Don't think they know that he's here. They don't have that warded up. And Peanut's backed off towards the red buff, but looks like Winged will peel back as well. This might just be a first dragon going over to Jin Air.
Yeah, there are pings on it from Jin Air, and it looks like Soraka is going to check.
Yep.
Just hit the star call over the wall. And they're going to open up with a curtain call.
Yeah, curtain call comes through. Wing's going to take one shot. Body slams backward. Dragon still being chunked out, down to about 700. Peanut not going to go over the wall, try to for the steal. Doesn't have that flash to get himself out to safety, so we'll just give that one over. It's an Ocean Drake, and they are going to be perfectly fine with making that trade.
Yeah, they couldn't actually go for that. Kuro wasn't in lane. He didn't take teleport this game. He actually took Ignite to help cut down the healing from the Vladimir, which is, I must say, an interesting decision. Usually you would want that extra mobility on the Anivia, considering that she does have trouble following other champions around the map with her low mobility. But this time, has to take the Ignite, because there's really not a great person to get grievous wounds on. Actually, Prey is definitely not going to be wanting to build a Mortal Reminder or a Last Whisper if he's going to keep up with the same build that we saw in the last game, considering his flat armor penetration is going to be so high. And there's no Graves, there's no Kindred in this game, so Peanut's not going to be building it. And as we've seen, most Anivia players, and what we're likely seeing now, is tier into Rod of Ages, so no Morellonomicon. That means that Ignite was kind of necessary just based on the composition, and it looks like that is going to hurt the Tigers a little bit when it comes to actually controlling these objectives.
We'll be a little bit late on that Rod of Ages. Still doesn't have the Catalyst. Opted to go for the Boots of Swiftness with the tier, so he can zip his way around and maximize his move speed on this Vladimir that does have Ghost.
Yeah, just starting to push up now, recovering in that CS deficit now that Kuro has his ultimate and is able to push a little bit more aggressively. But yeah, that also, I think the lack of teleport really hurt him early.
Ultimate coming out. It's going to be the Cannon Barrage thrown down. Trace, wow, one hit from Dead Peanut. Can he find the snipe? Becomes unburrowed. Looks like Trace will walk out of this one alive. Winged as well. Not going to take too much. We'll be able to retreat back. Rogue's coming up, though, from Kuro and Gorilla. Smeb taking a ton of damage, gets knocked right into Trace, who just takes him down with a shot of the pistol. Peanut will retreat, and a kill picked up from Jin Air.
Yeah,
Nicely played by Winged.
That could have really easily been flashed by Smeb, and he got cocky because the wish was there, but the damage, again, one thing that hasn't changed about the GP is what's going to happen with a Parlay and a Sheen. So the one shot doing enough work right there, and I think a little bit overbold from Smeb. Going to try and turn it back around, though. Pilot pretty
TP
far up.
coming through. Pilot.
Oh,
That
was ugly.
unfortunate. Smeb gonna try to dash forward. The TP's gonna be answered by Trace. Doesn't have a can of barrage, so he can't slow him up, so he's just gonna cancel that one.
And it looked like no curtain call available for Prey to actually open up that engagement, and Smeb misjudged how far that Lucian could have run, was late on the ward placement to actually catch him. So Pilot with a very easy escape. Simple from the lane, and that's a burn TP from the Tigers. They were lucky that Trace actually decided to use his. It was actually entirely unnecessary for Trace to even start that channel, considering that Winged was there and Pilot was safe. So, bad play, but a bit of a lucky break for the Tigers.
Oh, well, Kuzan trying to get aggressive onto Kuro. It's going to be the pop coming out from the ultimate. Bard ultimate will connect, and Kuro, not really much of anywhere to go. The egg is still there, but they'll be able to chunk this one out. Peanuts coming in, trying to get the defense in, but they knock Kuro even closer with the cast. He's going to go down. Kuzan finds the kill, but now Frey arriving with Gorilla, seeing if they can get any work done. It's not going to happen. All they do is land a root, and they're going to have to back off. So Jin Air find another pick.
Wing doing so much this game already. Just great Gragas play. And I like the adjustment that Jin Air made. Instead of just putting Winged on one of these farm-heavy late-game carry junglers, they put him with something that can make these plays early and can catch people out. And there's a big difference between having Winged and Che on the initiation, on the champions that can make picks, compared to what we saw last game where it was all on Pilot's Ashe, and now they can actually make aggressive plays on the map.
Yep. Dragon gets some damage in here onto Winged. Wave crashing through. Looks like Jin Air might be able to just force this one up, and they can. Cask's not there, but still enough damage and lockdown that Frey has to just be cautious enough to back off. So second turret pickup here for Jin Air Green Wings. They find themselves with a 2,000 gold advantage just 13.5 minutes in.
That horn that sounds when Jin has a crit is so annoying. Just a constant blaring siren in the lane.
There's a lot of things in this game that are very annoying.
I know. It's just that's one of the things I like least about League of Legends is that with every new champion and skin, they just add more and more just like audio spam into the game.
It needs to be immersive. Well, Trace getting engaged on here by Smeb. Big pop. Damage comes through from Kuro. They will take him down. So nicely executed there. Put a second on the board. Still suffering a little bit in gold, but netting themselves this tier 1 tower up top will really help equalize that.
Yeah, if they can actually push it down, we do see Bard and Gragas.
Ooh, yeah,
on
this
the
could
roam.
actually be decently risky. The explosive cask is there.
Yeah, Trace has TP.
You just spot them.
It doesn't have ult though. Did burn it on that gank.
Yeah, they won't be able to kill it here. Get a good amount of damage in, but they're going to have to peel back.
Looks like Prey had to flash out of something in the mid lane.
Yes, he did. Interesting.
I'm not sure what it was, but he did actually use his flash, so could have been a mistake as well, considering that he has a lot of HP.
Well, Dragon has respawned. It's a mountain to follow things up, so I like this. It's start with an ocean, then get something valuable. We'll see whether or not we get a second Mountain Drake in a row and really keep the pattern going.
I think Ocean was actually great for the Tigers in the last game. It just depends on the composition, but Tigers actually just going to trade this for a turret and for denying Trace. So all eggs in the Smeb carry basket right now because they are making very deliberate decisions about where they're going to have their advantage. Prey will sidestep.
Nice use of the Yomus.
Yeah, the Tempered Fate.
Kuzan trying to go really aggressive. Throws down the Hemo Plague onto Kuro.
That's the issue with Jin Air in the late game. Yes, they have the Tempered Fate, and they have more redundancy in their engage with the Explosive Cast also, but when you think about the Silence Field from Soraka and the Wall from Anivia combined with the Glacial Storm, still difficult for this Vlad and this GP to ever actually do damage in the late game. Same true of Pilot on the short-range Lucian. So Tigers can hold, if they can hold it together, they may be able just to kite their way to a win right here, but Jin Air certainly showing up and playing significantly better in game number 2.
Yeah, for sure. See, gold going to be about 500 separating now after that tier 1 went down. But a Mountain Drake for Jin Air makes for very easy turret takes. But when they'll be able to force up and try to get onto one, that's the big question.
It does make for easy turret takes, but they have a really poor composition for sieging.
Yeah. Low range ADC.
Vlad GP, that hurts. And they don't have double TP either, so it's not like they can execute some sort of 1-3-1 strategy, especially when Smeb now has that advantage in the top side and has now picked up the buff from the Rift Herald. And so until the 37-minute mark will now be a bit of a handful in the 1v1 for either Trace or for Kuzan. It's looks like Rock's just really looking to push around this Aurelia. And we've seen that work. Cuve had some pretty big Aurelia games when Ambition set him up early to succeed.
Yeah.
And in spite of that very large early CS deficit, it has been just Peanut there helping out, and Smeb starting to slowly take over this matchup.
Well, Rod of Ages has been completed here for Kuro. So we'll see that one finish off in about 27.5 minutes or so. We'll get that fully stacked up. Still has been really suffering as far as CS goes at the hand of Kuzan. 23 CS behind.
Yeah, it's a bit rough, but again, without that TP in the mid lane, he didn't have as much presence.
Yeah.
Couldn't just continuously push that wave, run out of mana in the early game, and then come back.
Oh, Smeb trying to get on the Trace will slow him up. Cannon Barrage comes down. A good amount of damage here still from this Aurelia, but Trace will be able to zip his way out with that move speed increase, and he gets off the barrel. Shay pushing forward, Bray gonna get exhausted, take that full culling to the face. The Wish comes through, and Barrel not gonna knock him out. And now Smeb arriving with the TP, trying to turn things around, goes through the magical journey. Can he get onto Jay? Will get stunned immediately, takes a punch, but Kuro comes down with the pinch, finds one kill, but now isn't in much of a position to follow up. Gets a big chunk of damage out on the wing. That's going to be the curtain call coming through. Can they lock up Pilot long enough? Not really going to happen. Gorilla does slow up with the Starfall. Now Kuro coming back through. Wing taking a bunch of damage. Oh my god, the Icicle's not going to be enough to kill him. Now Bray getting engaged onto the TP's coming in through the Gangplank now, trying to turn things for Jin Air. And this has just been all over the place. 2 for 0 in the end? I don't even know. What happened?
Well, Che died there, so it wasn't 2 for 1.
Oh, okay, 2 for 1.
But Kuzan was absolutely the hero of that fight. The way he zoned off Kuro and Gorilla to prevent Wing from going down. And then he still had the Hemo Plague at the end to pop and get the healing back. So watch this. So they know that Rek'Sai's in the top side because Rek'Sai showed on the minion wave. So they can actually successfully all in this turret with the help of the Tempered Fate. Prey's going to get very low. Does come back, turn around, and root Winged. Smeb is on the TP. Everybody starts to go through the magical journey. Nice stun at the other end. So Kuro eliminates the Bard, but no defensive stats yet on the Aurelia, so easily focused down. But watch what happens here. So Wing takes one shot for the curtain call. Pilot takes a second. Prey with not the best setup. But Kuzan zoning out Kuro, making sure nobody get in, and then he turns it around. Gets the double Hemo Plague, so he knows he's going to get a huge amount of health back and just focuses down Prey. Kuzan did a great job of playing that skirmish.
Really well done. I mean, we've seen him on this Vladimir in the past, and it's
been really good.
Very good if we ignore last game where he just really couldn't do a whole lot. But nicely played there by Jin Air, keeping themselves nosed out ahead of Rock's Tigers so far in this game. 2 Dragons up, really helping them out a lot, or will be helping them out a lot as they move forward. But the Ocean Drake already going to start doing work.
Yeah, Prey going to go for the Dustblade again. For those big executes once the item passive, I guess we'll call it,
Yeah.
kicks in. And it looks like Smeb going to start playing around Prey, and they're going to try and set up a bait here, looks like. As Rek'Sai goes into red side jungle of the Tigers, and they're just pushing up for this next Drake.
Yeah, well, it looks like no one's really going to bite on that.
Drake would be very useful for them. Mountain Drake, the kind of range they have. There we go.
Oh, wow, Smeb just jumping onto Kuzan. Doesn't have the stun. It's going to be the flash out here by the Vladimir. Takes 2 bullets. Might be enough to turn it around, and it is nicely played by Prey, sniping him out for the kill.
Yeah, actually huge that they got that kill before the Hemoplague pop went off and saved him. He was at the very end of his range, had to use both summoner spells to try and escape that. Smeb with the early Equilibrium strike. I was worried the slow wouldn't be enough, but the follow-up there from Prey, even though he missed the route after the pool, was enough to actually take him out, considering he doesn't have any armor, just magic resist. So
now that's going to be the Mountain Drake, second one of the game, going over to the side of Rox Tigers, their first one. And yeah, we are going to follow this. It's going to be Ocean, double of insert Drake name, and then Ocean again.
nice.
So we found the pattern. Trace going to get jumped on by Smeb. He's very bloodthirsty. Doesn't have a flash to continue this chase, however. Barrel there for the slow. He still dashes forward, gets a slow for the Equilibrium strike, but here comes Che. Cannon Barrage comes down, will slow up the Aurelia. Looks like he's just going to use that ultimate through the wave, trying to get as much health back as he can.
One of the best things about Smeb in this matchup is that he's been drawing out the Cannon Barrage so that they can't use it to get aggressive on other parts of the map or even try and fight around objectives with it. It's like the 3rd time that he's killed off that ultimate this game, and that has such a long cooldown that drawing it out in these 1v1s is of utmost importance to the Tigers.
Well, it's been done very nicely by him. See the Frozen Heart completed now for Winged. Going to try to reduce the attack speed of Smeb and Prey as much as he can.
Where's your Proto Belt, Achilles?
There's a Kindle Gem.
The hope is alive.
It's still, I can still hope for it.
It actually is not a bad item.
It's not.
In this case, when you really need to make those engages against
Yeah,
the opposition that wants to kite you.
You can get right on the Prey's face with that thing. I just hope that Winged agrees. Rox pressuring up in mid, not really going to be able to find too much. Smeb has to go down bot to answer that wave that's been crashing forward. Despite playing with the team, like trying to go for that bait that led into the kill onto Kuzan, he's still been maintaining a CS lead over top of Trace.
Yeah, Deadman's played well, looking for the instant assassination onto the GP, having those convenient stats also for resisting with the armor in lane. Looks like it's going to be another Sterix Gauge this time for Trace.
Yeah.
Interesting. We see that item a couple of times tonight. We haven't seen it in a while. Trace just trying to prevent what Smeb is attempting to do, which is burst him into the ground.
Wave crashing. Jin Air not going to be able to do much at the moment. Basically just have to sit around and try to wait for another dragon to come up. The waves have been managed by Rox quite well. They have Smeb who's continually answering these. He's able to burn him down quickly with the use of that short cooldown ultimate.
Wow, Morellonomicon was actually built by Kuro.
Oh, wow, yeah. Going for the Morellonomicon before the Saros.
That's a very utility-heavy build from Kuro. But of course we'll have the nice scaling also that comes with the Rod of Ages. He's not going to be completely starved when it comes to dealing damage. He also doesn't need to deal damage with an Aurelia and a Jhin in the game.
Well, he's going to deal damage now. He's looking for that Seraph's Embrace.
It'll get up there. Just interesting to see. Duskblade now done for Prey. Pilot has opted, I think this is very wise, for an early rapid fire cannon.
Yeah.
Just to get a little bit more range in there, because he knows how dangerous all these champions are going to be, and he has to be able to actually hit them if they're kiting.
Yeah, it looks like Last Whisper going to be the next one coming in for him as well. So wants to be able to rip through that armor that Smeb's been building up for himself. So he's not just a non-factor in these fights. Prey, we'll see where he wants to go. Has the long sword. probably, if I had to guess, the Hex Drinker again.
I think
is
against
the
Vlad,
moment.
you're going to build the Hex Drinker.
Yeah, well, Vlad and Gragas.
Yeah.
So, definitely a good pickup.
Well, bad news, Winged is building an Aegis.
No! Winged, you've let me down. I am ashamed.
It's all right. The dream for Protobelt Rek'Sai is still alive.
There we go. That would be an interesting one. We might have a little bit of a fight breaking out. Kuro going to flash away from that Bard ultimate, but look at Trace in the bottom lane just getting soloed out by Smeb. Peanut now in the front line trying to lock down Kuzan. The TP will be coming through from the Aurelia. They find Winged with the Equilibrium Strike, or rather with the Flash Freeze. He goes over the wall, will be able to dash through, but he gets rooted by Prey. Here comes the curtain call, and Smeb is just wreaking havoc on the back line.
He's
behind
still
these turrets.
going.
Jay still getting hit. He goes in really deep, dashes back to the minion. The call not going to be able to finish him off. They do find Gorilla, however, and this could be the time for Rox to really back off.
Nice
Wall
wall.
coming through from Kuro will keep them pushed back. And they're still going to try to get some damage down onto this tower. Kuzan is a very healthy Vladimir, however. See him even just what? The Duskblade.
Duskblade.
Oh my God, that caught me wildly off guard. Kuzan,
Wow, this Jin build is really something else.
he just disappeared.
Yeah, that happened last game too, to Wing at one point. But yeah, that damage that you can get, it does, what, 90 plus 25% of the target's missing health, so
I
it
gotta
can
watch this
do
one again.
a
so
hell of a lot.
Trace was just recalling
I
not
mean-
under tower.
Yeah, Smeb also played this beautifully. I mean, coming in immediately thereafter with the teleport to join the fight. Winged is all isolated on the side, can't really do much. I mean, Prey is a long walk from the top side of the map, but they're still able to catch him out. Smeb tries to go for Pilot right here, turns his attention to Jay. Jay flashes with the Magical Journey. Smeb probably shouldn't have even gone through that Magical Journey with the Cosmic Binding on the other side. He actually baits Gorilla into his own death right there.
All right, here we go. This is the good stuff, though.
Yeah, this is the
This
good
is the
stuff.
meat.
And this is this 2-item power spike with the Jin. I mean, Kuzan has a lot of HP, and he's obviously confident. You know, Tides of
Done.
Blood, he's like, all right, I'm
Pop,
fine.
pop.
Oh, goodbye. Just
Good Lord.
eliminated by the Duskblade. It's also sort of an unlucky timing for the Duskblade to come
Oh,
up.
yep. Ray, you can see. Oh, he's just going to go ahead and curtain call this one. Will land that one shot and get the CD refund as he almost sinks down Jay. Ocean Drake's been started up by Rox Tigers. Nice wall to keep Winged away. They should be able to burn this one through. Bard ultimate comes through, finds Peanut. The Dragon is still engaged. They're gonna be able to burn it out, though.
Yeah, missed the actual Drake right there. He hit Peanut instead, but if you don't have a jungler in the pit, it doesn't really matter if you hit Peanut or not.
God. Just had to hit Kuzan with the Caster's Curse. I was like, yeah, he's healthy.
Well, that was a fortunate time for the Duskblade cooldown to come back. Let's say that.
Definitely have to keep my eyes on the...
I don't think Kuzan expected that either.
I definitely have to keep my eyes on that animation around him because I didn't notice it the first run through. And that just caught me completely off guard. But wow, what a play from Rox. And Jin Air's still been doing a lot better in this game, but Rox are starting to get that lead. Only 1.6 thousand separating them, but now having 2 dragons of their own. So we're going to be even in that regard. They're still up a turret.
Yes. Yes, they are. But Rox and Jin Air, neither of them really with a substantial advantage right now. Not in terms of composition either, as both these team comps should be pretty good into the late game. I'm just wondering when this GP is actually going to do something, because
He's done a lot of dying.
yes, it's probably still strong late. He is going for a Yomu's Ghostblade, so it is going to be a very high damage, highly consistent damage GP. Let's put it that way. It is a bit of a different build than we have seen previously. But, you know, I'm not convinced GP is in a great place right now in the meta, especially with only the 3 barrels. That was a pretty massive nerf to his zoning potential in the late game.
I mean, it's at least...
And also, I mean, just the crit changes to Trinity Force do change a lot about the way that Parlay and his barrels are going to be able to actually pack that same punch.
Yeah. It's consistently so for Trace to pull out a counter pick that doesn't necessarily work out. We saw the Echo.
Yeah,
And,
it does feel like he's going back in time. I mean, especially with the Echo, thematically, I suppose. But he's playing all these champions that he is well known for playing. But
Oh boy. Well, he might be going down again. The Seraph Gage will get popped. Smeb still sticking to him like glue. He's going to find the kill. And poor Prey uses the curtain call, not able to get an assist, but Gorilla will tack onto that one with the use of Wish.
I mean, what are you going to do right now? Rox Tigers have been punishing this GP pick all game, playing around his early game weakness, just feeding Smeb. And when you have the Soraka, they're able to add the Wish in to these duels, and it's just not going to be a good time for the GP.
Smeb's just going to be able to solo out that turret Kuzan, saying, you know what, I can't duel you. I'm just going to try to impact this mid lane, stop that push and that tower from going down. Calling will be used. Kuro takes a bit of damage, but Gorilla is there. Nice flash away at the last second. Will get himself out of that Bard ultimate. And now Smeb is just going to clean house through that bottom side of the jungle and probably back off and buy himself another item to make himself even stronger. Surprised we didn't see a Wit's End from him. Went for the Spirit Visage, but haven't seen that item yet.
Yeah, he's, it is interesting that he's going so tanky. I mean, the Wit's End, not very useful in the GP matchup, which is where he's been going most of the time.
Sure.
Of course, neither is the Spirit Visage, but it does give him a little bit more survivability from potential Vladimiring later on, without necessarily guaranteeing that he has to hit a bunch of auto attacks before he builds up that magic resist.
Well, Smeb has just been pretty much running the game for the majority of this one. 3, 2, and 3, so he did miss out on 2 kills that he has participated in, but he's stretching a very nice lead. Shay gonna get caught trying to get through that magical journey, but the bullets can line up perfectly. Flashes behind Pilot. Might be the sacrificial lamb. He still goes down at the end. Pilot says, I'm not taking this one for you. You're on your own, buddy. Flashes
Pilot.
back to the other side.
They used 3 summoners for none, though.
They just leapfrogged over top of each other.
Yeah,
It was
Pilot.
leapfrog Russian roulette. Who's gonna die?
That sounds like a very exciting game there.
I'd watch that on ESPN.
I'd watch it too.
I'll put it on the Ocho. Smeb got a TP in the backside, gets a stun on the Trace, who cleanses it off with the orange, but he runs straight into Peanut, gets popped up in the air. Seraph Gage not going to do anything to save his life, and Smeb is not done yet. Goes straight into the back line, trying to heal up with that ultimate. The Wish comes through from Gorilla, just pumping heals out into Peanut and Smeb, keeping them healthy throughout this entire exchange. Peanut goes forward with the tunnel, can't find it. Flash forward by Smeb, flash answered by Kuzan. Pilot takes a chunk from the W, but the root's not going to come through, and Rox will back off after taking down GP once again.
Yeah, they do have some sustain options here. You can see the Ocean Drake ticking away. And they're going to try and re-engage this now. Looks like.
Oh yeah, here comes Peanut, gets a pop-up on the wing, straight into the root. He doesn't go very far with that body slam. Peanut's taking a bit of damage in the front line, but Pilot's not been able to do a whole lot. Now Smeb going through, gets a reset, jumps right onto him. Last auto attack will take him down. The wall coming out a little bit too late to stop Kuzan, but 3 members down. That should be Baron going over to Rox Tigers now.
Yeah, they just keep turning, and they're using the advantage that they have because they can make picks from such a long way away with the Jhin that if anybody deals damage, the root can immediately follow through after. And it's just been beautiful Jhin play from Prey in this best of 3 tonight, and they are going to finally take that Baron, head back home, and then set up for a siege. Take a look at this, and yeah, I mean, just consistent damage coming through from Smeb. And once he's on one of those targets, so hard to get him off, pops in Equilibrium Strike onto Pilot, finishes him off with an auto, and then is walling the rest of Jhin Air off, and they don't have any chance now to actually come back and contest that Baron.
Yep, that's going to be Blade of the Ruin King now pick up for Smeb, so you definitely can't get away from this guy at this point.
And now the additional damage comes in. Just wanted some additional armor and magic resist.
Yep.
Make sure he lives through these team fights. Comfortable with where he was in this game, considering the advantage he had accrued for himself. He is 2 levels up on the GP, the highest level player in this game.
Well, they have plenty of that all around. I mean, the GA finished here for Peanut with the Randuin's Omen and the Locket. Another one being built by Gorilla. And that Maw of Malmortius is there for Prey, so there's just no one that you can really jump on the side of the Rocks Tigers to blow them up. Maybe the Anivia because she doesn't have the Zonias, but has that shield from Seraphs and has the egg reliable to keep her alive. So looking like this might be a well thought in the early game fight here by Jin Air, but in the end might just be a 2-0 for Rocks. They're knocking on the inhibitor tower doors right now.
Yeah, they just can create so many zones. The Curtain Call and the Anivia Wall, the Glacial Storm. It's not really a way for Jin Air to walk up and defend right now. Smeb just playing on the opposite side. Some of these barrels.
He's gonna jump on the Trace, takes the bullet. It's gonna be one more coming through. Can it find a target? It will find Kuzan. It's about 650. The turret goes down. The one in the mid lane as well. Gonna follow. Wing gets stunned up. Bard ultimately comes through in time to save the Duskblade. Not gonna get the pop, but he will still die in the end of things. Smeb finding the kill onto Pilot. Kuzan trying to get out of dodge. Nice Cosmic Binding will lock up Peanut and Smeb and stop them from chasing onto the Vladimir, but they are just leaving the base in shambles. 2 inhibitors gonna fall, and Peanut still coming over, denies the back from Kuzan, just keeping him away from the base as long as he possibly can. With Wing dead and Pilot gone for the next 25 seconds, this could be the game here, 37 minutes.
Yeah, they're gonna push forward right now. Trace is back up, but for how much longer?
Not very long. Actually gets into the fountain, so he will live. The slight little reprieve, but the base, you can't say the same about that one. Che gonna take a bunch of damage. Prey goes forward, takes him out at the end for one extra kill. Rocks just having fun at this point. Nicely played by them. 37.5 minutes. They will take down Jin Air in a 2-0.
Convincing from the Rocks Tigers this evening. Struggled a little bit more in game number 2, took some fights that maybe they shouldn't have, but when we talk about playing to win conditions, they just stuck to Smeb. Got him huge on that Aurelia in spite of the early farm deficit. Had a lot of help there from Peanut, and the GP also just looking like a really weak pick right now. Never even had the late game damage. You'd expect that GP by 37 minutes to at least be doing something, but I just don't think the GP is in a very good place right now.
Yeah.
As strong as it was. And, you know, it's picks like the Echo and the Gangplank where you look at Jin Air and you say, Trace had such a big champion pool in this spring. He led and innovated the top lane meta in many ways around the world from that top lane Graves. And he's always been a unique player and been surprising and had surprisingly effective pocket picks. So winding back the clock seems like a very strange place for Jin Air to be for their top laner.
Yeah, it's just been confusion the last couple times that we've seen these guys in the pick and ban. This one especially with these picks coming out. Before it was the Shen not being denied or taken away from MVP. You see their most damage to champions is Smeb with a wonderful performance on the Aurelia. So turning things around compared to last season, I would say.
Well, to summer season last year. It was a very famous finals match between the Rocks Tigers and SK Telecom, or the spring finals rather, where they tried to play that Aurelia into the Gnar, and it turned out not to work so well. And this time, however, they are looking a lot better with that pick, and we got to see Smeb on his first Aurelia pick of the season.
Yep. And I mean, again, just the whole of Rocks Tigers, all of them performing extremely well. Gorilla, maybe not so much getting baited into that magical journey in mid, but outside of that, everything was
That
very
was
much
Smeb's fault.
It was Smeb's fault. He just wanted to go heal him, but that was Smeb's fault. But everybody playing really well. Kuro with some very clutch walls, and the Anivia landing stun after stun with the flash freeze and just pumping out a good amount of damage. Of course, though, after that performance, how could you not give him MVP? It's going to be Smeb, 7-2-4, and a very firm hold on first place with 700 MVP points.
Yeah, calling the jungler at the right times as Trace was pushed very far up. Trace did all he could to not get ganked in that situation and still try and punish. But unfortunately for him, Wing wasn't there, so Peanut able to get that gank, give Aurelia the first blood, and then it was just Smeb rolling through right now, and he is back on top of those MVP point standings, 200 in front of everyone else.
Yep. Just aggressive plays like this throughout the entire game, flashing in for the equilibrium strike, knowing it's not even going to be a stun, just enough to get the slow.
Yeah, and just continuously. There's a wish on this dive right here on a Trace. Trace trying to, you can see he's basically doing all he can to keep farming, drops his ult on himself. Sterix gauges procs. Like, if you're Trace at this point, what the hell are you supposed to do? You need your teammates to help you. This is sloppy.
Yeah.
Trace recalling an award. And this opened up this huge play in the mid lane after Smeb was able to TP in, and now we're starting to check out some of these Baron baits that
And
this
violence.
play culminated in the actual Baron itself being taken after Smeb with the double kill.
And it was just as the entire run of things. Pilot being 3-shot by that Aurelia on the backside. And he just ran straight down at everybody and just ripped them apart. So very strong performance by Smeb. And the Rock Tigers as a whole, great from them to continue that little win streak that they now have going for themselves. Look forward to the rest of their games as we move forward. But we do have an interview with our 2 MVPs. We're going to throw over to Joel for the translation.
Thank you very much, guys. We have an interview with the MVPs of Rocks Tigers, winning their 2-0 victory against Generic Green Wing. We have Prey and Smith for the interview.
네, 프레이 선수, 스매스 선수 승리 축하드립니다.
Congratulations on the win, guys. Give us a comment on the win.
뭐 일단 이기게 돼서 정말 좋고요. 오늘
We're
1위 결정전이라서
happy, first of all, to just get the win.
잠시나마 1위를 할 수 있는 자리라서
And I'm happy
정말 좋네요, 지금.
to be in that first place spot. I don't know how long we can hold it, but I'm happy to be here.
뚫고 있는 상황인데 오늘도 역시나 또 받았어요. 기분 굉장히
Smeb, you've been receiving MVPs from left to right, but you got another one today. How do you feel?
팀원들의
It's as I've always said, it's always been my teammates' contribution to the win, and the teammates make me look good, and that's one of the big reasons I got the MVP again today.
언제나 더 좋죠. 정규 시즌의 락스 타이거즈는 언제나 강한 모습을 보여줬었잖아요. 그래서 이번 시즌
We've seen Rocks Tigers showing good performance throughout every season, but this season especially, you guys haven't shown the very early start. But how is the team doing right now?
일단 저희가 2위라고 생각을 해서
We always thought of ourselves as a second place team,
많이 준비를 해왔던 것도 있고
and we're always trying to prepare hard to improve ourselves.
저희가 좀 슬로우 스타터 이런 느낌이
And we
있어서
did have
좀
a slow start to the season. We always felt that.
감이 좀 없지 않아 있어서
And trying to figure out what went wrong and trying to figure out the details of improving that was our key to improving.
올라갔다라는 생각이 드는데 진에 대한 개인적인 평가는 어떻습니까?
Junior had very good performances in the past games, and what are your ratings on the team?
일단 지금 원딜러 메타가 좀 캐리하는 메타가 아니라
For Junior, I think it's one of those things that the meta really isn't suiting them well. The ADC is not our carry position right now, and that's one of the things that's hurting Junior.
다채로운 픽을 선보이셨는데 준비를 계속해서 하고 있으셨던
You've shown very wide variety of picks that you chose from, and your team in general. What do you think about that? We're trying to think of unique champs to pick out to counter the opposition, to kind of surprise them. And we did have a little frightness trying to go in with these unique champs, but I think they turned out okay today.
가 만들어졌을 때 라인전 상성은 어떤가요? 지금 현재 메타에서.
How is the laning phase for you in this current meta? I think the top laner who takes advantage of the jungler better has the better laning phase, and I think that's the crucial part of it.
바텀 쪽에서 소라카가 등장하면서
And we saw Soraka in the bot lane today.
이런 분석도 있었는데 실제로
And what are some of the strategies that you had picking that for the pick ban phase?
그런 픽들 같은 경우에 저희가 좀 게임을 많이 오래 하다 보니까 예전부터
When we playing with each other for a very long time, we think of various team chemistries that we can come up with, and certain compositions like this today was something that we thought of while we were practicing.
노린 건가요? 상대가 이제 쿠잔이
Did you think that Kuzan was gonna pick the Vladimir today and try to counter that as best as he can?
블라디가 그렇게 좀 허무하게 죽는 경우를 잘 못 봤는데
I didn't think that Vladimir could have died so easily by
실제로 1세트
the attacks that I made today.
진짜로 본인들도 막 이거 조합 너무 좋은데 막 이런 얘기를 했다고 하는데
We heard in the booth that you guys rated the team composition that you guys had as very powerful. What were the comments that you guys made?
일단 저희 끝나고 나서 조합이 왜 이렇게 좋지? 약간
We didn't make that much comments in the beginning when we picked it out, but after the game, when we saw the results, we realized how good it was. We prepared a highlight from the game, and let's look at the clip while we talk about it.
이거는 거의 사람의 무빙이 아니었다.
And this was something that people said this was a godly moving, and little sidestepping that you guys made was something that was very unhumanly, and that's what some of the things that were talked about.
빠른 팀이에요. 그게 어떤 노하우가 있는 건지.
Was there something that you guys really focused on your the teammates joining the fight was really fast. What are some of the things that you guys had going to that?
모르는데 좀 힘들었어.
그러니까 저희 팀이 조금 요즘 좀 옛날에는 이제 경기 시작 전부터 많이 신이 나 있었거든요.
Long time ago, we had a team environment that was very upbeat, and we were very excited in going to games.
좀더 잘해지고
But
그런 게 있는
nowadays, it's more like we were trying to be more focused and we're trying to be concentrated on playing a good game.
장면을 보여주시기로 굉장히 유명한데 최근에도 프레이 선수 엄청나게 멋진 장면 보이면서
Prey, you've shown very spectacular plays
서로 간에 또
going into
서로
some of your
복수를
games.
해주고, 멋진 장면도 많이 만들어내셨는데
And what are some of the
어떤 그런 본인이
comments you have for what kind of the wonderful plays that you make very often?
네, 왜 이렇게 띄워주시는지 잘 모르겠는데.
I don't know why you're saying such good compliments about me,
이게
but
특권 아닙니까? 예, 또
또
오랜만에 또 인터뷰하시니까.
일단 뭐 수백 판 중에 그런 좋은 판들이 한 판씩 나온다고 생각하고요.
but yeah, from the many games that we play, I think there are a few games that come up to be very fortunate for us, and it's just a luck for me more than anything else.
궁금한 게 사실 락스타이거즈가 그동안 계속 준우승을 했잖아요. 근데
Rocks Tigers,
준우승에 머물지
as we've
않았었거든요.
seen, has always been that second place team.
상위권 혼돈 양상
And we've never seen you guys reach that top level yet.
근데 지금 약간 부진합니다. 이것에
But right now,
어떻게 하고
we see SKT falling back from their usual self. What are some of your comments on the team's future?
스프링 때더 부진했거든요.
I think we did better on spring, and we had a better chance of getting it to the top.
로 분류하고 생각하고요.
But with SKT, they were always a strong team, and no matter what the results they had recently, they will always be a strong team, and we always have to respect that. And we're just trying to do better as a team overall, and hope that we can get there sometime soon.
저는 그럼 또 스맵 선수한테 궁금한 게
I want to ask a question to Smeb.
계셨고, 아무래도
You're finally first place in the league right now.
있는 상황인데 상위권 팀들 간의 다툼도 치열하지만
And
하위권 5개
what are the-
있는 상황이거든요.
You guys have a fierce competition going up against the top teams in the league, but with the bottom teams in the league, what are some of the thoughts you have going into those games? For example, if you have MVP, for example,
치고 올라올 것 같아요.
and I think those are the teams that can definitely come up in the rankings in the future, later in the season.
연습 때 굉장히 잘하시더라고요.
I think some of the players are very individually talented, and I think they have a potential of getting higher in the rankings than what they are right now.
주고 받나요?
네, 뭐 주고 받았던 것 같아요.
네, 알겠습니다. 그러면 이제 두 번째 경기
We have a highlight from the second game. Let's look at it.
그냥 지나가다가 도시락 먹듯이 걸리면은 계속 잡고 막 그랬어요.
Wow, what a highlight.
You really picked out Trace in multiple occasions.
이거 약간 허를 찔렸다 이런 생각 혹시 안 하셨나요?
But it's some of the picks that seem too easy for you. What were some of the comments that you had for those kind of plays?
네. 예, 조금 좀 놀란 픽이었어요. 근데
Yeah, it was a surprising pick-off for me too. I didn't expect Trace to be in those kind of positions. But I was kind of fortunate to be in the right spot at the right time. And in getting those pickoffs it gave us a lot of advantage.
꽉 잡았다 이런 생각을 하셨나요?
Did you ever feel that in a certain point in game that you guys really secured the win?
스플릿으로 게임 끝낼 수 있다라고.
I think we thought at one point that we can just split push to get the victory. And I think the overall team management was very good for our game.
파괴력도 꽤 강력해서 플레이에 대한 부담이 꽤 있었을 것 같은데.
I think you had a lot of pressure going in with that Irelia today. What were some of your thoughts you went during the game?
안 듣고 있었던 건 아니죠?
아니요. 근데 솔직히 말해서 좀 저희가 확실히 유리해졌다고 생각한 게 탑이 원래
But with the pressure, I think we did get some advantage after the first game. And things are, shaking off for us, and we were getting better picks, and we were getting better looks, and we took those advantages, and we just made it into a better game.
선수 진활용에 대해서도 굉장히
A lot of people were really complimenting on your Jin play today.
그리고 두 선수 같은 경우는 또 스킬 샷도 뭐잘 맞는
And the combination of CCs that you guys provided with the teammates was really spectacular.
진짜 도움이 될 만한 노하우 같은 게.
Is there any tips that you can give to anybody who would like to play Jin? I think the best tip I can give is to evade skill shots and hit your targets. That's the best tip I can give.
이제 이 두 선수가 MVP를 이렇게 동시에 받은 적이 있었나라는 생각이 들 정도로 굉장히
It's been a while that I can remember that
네.
Smeb and Prey, both of you were MVPs together in the same game.
네, 수면 선수에 관해서
It's always been the one or the other.
이렇게 같이 받게
How does it feel
되니까
to be in this MVP interview together?
이 친구 혼자 있을 때는 되게 발랄하더니 오늘 되게 조용하네요.
When Smeb was alone, he was talking a lot and he seemed very
오랜만에
excited.
MVP 받아서
But now he's quiet.
정말 잘생긴 두
But
분
I'm really just happy to be with the two of you guys and really enjoying this interview together.
프레이 선수가 그런 말씀해 주시니까 너무 영광이에요. 프레이 선수가 LOL판에서 사실 3대
I'm really thankful that you think that.
예. 아 진짜 영광입니다. 예. 예, 영광. 네, 정말 감사합니다. 자 그러면 이제 다음 경기가
Your next match.
무슨 뭐 형제팀이 아니냐 재밌는 스토리가 많이 만들어졌던 아프리카전.
Your next match is against Africa.
전에 임하는 각오한 말씀과 그리고
And what are can you give us a comment on your thoughts going into the game?
네, 요즘 아프리카도 SKT 잡으면서
We saw Africa beating SKT yesterday, and they've been showing good form. And I think we really need to prepare hard so that we can have a good game against them. And we'll just try to have a good game together when that day comes. And we'll just kind of try
네,
hard.
알겠습니다. 이렇게 멋진 경기 끝에 타이거즈가 진해원을 2대0으로
After a spectacular match, we had an interview with Smeb and Prey. And that's it for the interview. Back over to you guys.
Thank you very much, Joel, for the translation. And yeah, Tigers versus Africa. Potential for that to be a very close series with how they've been performing. Big question will be whether they start Iksu and Lira or Seongwan and Linderong, as we saw yesterday in Game 1, which was very big surprise when they took a killless game over SK Telecom. But
That was a huge surprise, to say the least, considering that Seongwan and Linderong had lost their other 2 games of the season.
yeah, it's a very strong showing for them. But you can see right there, Rocks Tigers now resting in first place. All is as it should be. Chenier, though, falling down to 5th. And the rest of the team still have a lot of shuffling to be done. We have a couple more matches this week to go through, and we'll see where the standings are going to rest going into week 6. But for now, Rocks Tigers back on top.
Well, they ended last season on top. Maybe they can do it again. Who knows?
We'll have to see. Tomorrow, though, coming up, we have ESC Ever taking on Samsung. Potential for that one to be actually decently close. And then Longzhu versus SK Telecom T1. Some potential as well there. Longzhu showing that they can have those upsets taking down Samsung. And SKT very much been on a decline. They might be able to find some success. And then rounding out the week on Saturday, CJ Entis versus KT Rolster. I think we know how that one was going to go. And then Rocks versus Africa Freaks.
Yeah, Rocks versus Africa, suddenly. Very interesting matchup.
Absolutely.
Could go either way, although the Rocks Tigers really, again, over the last 3 best-of-3s they played against CJ, Longzhu, and now Jin Air, look to have just adjusted their play style to be more around the Drake. Especially Game 1 was an impressive performance with that composition.
That was
really well played.
Really dirty. Only giving up 1 kill at the end. It's because they dove the fountain. It was a really strong performance from them. The CJ one, Game 1 against that, a little bit of a teeter-totter on that one. I mean, they definitely can have can get surprised by picks like Hecarim. But that's going to close it out for me and Monty tonight. We'll see you guys back here tomorrow for more LCK action.
From a phone instead of calling, asking if you're all alone, but I don't want to stay